Okay, so we are going to do a medium length blow dry. So I'm going to show you this gal has already been washed and she has her products in. So we are going to blow dry her. So I'm going to show you the most efficient, fastest way for someone who doesn't have too much texture in her hair. She does have some layers, but it's going to be the fastest way with max amount of volume for this length of hair, okay? So she already has all of her products in, so you're gonna go in and you're gonna section. So you're gonna do about 3 sections. The cleaner your sections are, the less risk of going in and getting caught with the brush. That's one of the biggest things that people struggle with when they first started to do blow dries, fast and efficient, is making sure that your sections are pretty clean and you know you're not gonna grab any of that with your brush when you are up against the scalp of the head, trying to get lots of volume. So I'm going to take this first section. I call them horseshoe sections because they're just rounded right around the head. And I'm going to clip it out of the way. Then, because she still has quite a bit of hair, I'm going to go in one more section. So I'm going to go right above the ear to get the nape. And I'm going to clip that out of the way. And I'm going to start here, just this section on the very bottom here, knowing that I'll be able to control. It is at an angle, doesn't matter, just as long as there's not big loops hanging out or it's not super jagged, because then you can't go in and get volume. So I'm going to use the Zambia paddle brush and go in and I'm going to start blow drying. High heat and aggressive. So going in and really getting up against her roots. I'm not really worrying about her ends right now. I'm going in and I'm really focusing on the roots of her hair. And I'm manipulating them away from her head. Her hair's pretty fine. So we need volume all the way through all of the sections, as much as we can get, starting with the nape of her head. So I'm working the hair back and forth. I'm also switching my hands to make this the most efficient on my body and making sure I'm not leaving one side of her head wet. I know that I'm going back and forth. You can also use the truck and trailer method here, going back and forth, but we're not really working on her ends right now. We're really focusing on the roots. The roots is going to be the first thing that you dry. Because it's the hardest thing to go back and get dry. So she's still a little bit wet. So now that I feel like most of her roots are dry, I'm going to come through and I'm going to truck and trailer and I'm going to pull all the way down her hair strands. Making sure that all of this is dry. And then I go in with my hand to kind of feel it. Looks like the only thing that's wet now is just her ends are a little bit damp. So I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to go a little bit slower. I'm just going to pull it through her ends just to ensure that all of it is 100% dry. Okay, so now that that section is done, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to drop this section. Same thing, I'm going to go in and I'm going to lift, drop and lift, up against her scalp, getting those roots really dry. As you can see, I'm getting really up into her roots there, and I'm not getting my brush caught in her top section. That's why this is so important to keep it so clean, not super jagged of a section. Really focusing on the roots of her hair. And knowing this method of blow drying is really going to help you when you go into double blow dry, which will happen a lot with a lot of my guests because they do have a lot of hair. So really focusing on the roots. If you notice you're getting tangled through the ends, just go through and kind of rough dry them a little bit. If they have damage, you don't want to keep pulling on that section, okay? So same thing on this side. Switching my body, switching my hand with the brush, really working. I'm pulling this hair in the opposite direction of where it's going to live because want max amount of volume for her finer hair texture. I do not want you, this is something I do not want you to do, is to pick it up, put it in the brush, and then follow it down. That takes too much time. I want you to constantly keep the blow dryer on the head, no matter what you're doing. The blow dryer should never come off the head unless you're following your section down after you've already blown it on the roots. So still focusing in the root area. Moving the hair in all directions on the scalp is going to ensure that you don't get any flat spots. Also, moving in all directions is going to help speed up your blow dry and making sure that it is 100% dry in those areas. Now that our roots are dry, I'm coming down and I'm truck and trailering and I'm following it, but I am not taking the blow dryer out, putting the brush in and going down. You will still move the hair around and pick it up and go and follow your brush this way. It's called blending the two sections together now. So now you're blow drying almost all of it. As you can see, it's all pretty much dry. But they do have a little bit of damage to their ends. You can go and you can turn it, and you can pick it up and you can do this to get through that damage all the way through their ends. But keep moving the hair. Don't ever take the brush out of your hand and go in and start doing this unless you cannot physically get the brush to their hair. I want their roots being manipulated so much that they can have this max amount of volume, because once they have length on their hair, it's automatically going to get weighed down. So I don't want anything added to the hair being weighed down. So then at the very end, you would go in and just feel as you're still blow drying to see if it's dry. So she's dry, so I'm going to go in and take this section out. And she has a side part, but we're going to try a middle part today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start in the front. This whole horseshoe is just going to be zigzag. Since I'm going to work, you want to work on their part line first. Most people have some sort of a calic no matter how they're going to wear their hair. So you want to make sure that you are blow drying it correctly. So since she is going to do a middle part and her hair is used to doing a side part, you really want to get in front of them, holding the brush and going down and back and forth on their hairline. Once you feel like you've gotten those roots really stretched out, then you can manipulate it a little bit differently. Switch hands, still holding the brush. All right, now that I've pretty much gotten her bangs, root to mid-shaft dry, you can see how that's going to lay with a little bit of volume, and it's going to give her that perfect separation there. So now I'm going in and I'm going to still focus on the root, not worrying about her ends because she still has a little bit of damage on them. So picking it up and kind of throwing the hair out of the way is really what you want to do next. Doesn't matter if this part gets stuck, because you're just going to throw it out of the way. So So making sure you're getting in there, getting those roots dry. I'm not worrying about her ends at all. Taking a section, putting it down so you can get to that next section. But I'm never taking the blow dryer away from the head. Now I'm going to take the next section. I'm going to get that out of my way. So blow and dry that for a little bit. So turning the brush vertically because we have some tangles here, and then just going through to make sure there are no more tangles. So same thing. Making sure roots are getting dry, picking it up, putting that tension on her head so that she has volume. Now I'm going to work in the back of her head. The back of that horseshoe section, you know where it's dry. Most people will have at least one calic here, so focusing on making sure that that doesn't split into like a butt crack, going in and making small X's. So I'm still truck and trailering one way, truck and trailering the other way. On her roots, not worrying about the ends of her hair still. But you can see how I'm manipulating the hair with this, but I'm never taking the blow dryer off the head. This ensures that when they flip their head back this way, they will have that volume from the tension from going forward. Now that all of these roots are pretty much dry, I'm going to go through and lay the hair where it's meant to be. So I'm picking it up still, following it through its end and starting to get it to go back to where we want it to live for the style. Now that her roots are dry, and if you went in and you would comb it anyway, she would still have that volume up in her crown area. So now I'm just feeling to see if it is dry, and she is dry. So I'm going to switch to show you how to round brush. Know that you're gonna round brush her, but she still feels a little bit damp. Do not move on. I want her hair to be 100% dry before you use the round brush on her at all. So I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna continue to do what we were doing, picking up the hair, following it down, and really just going a little bit slower down the hair strand to ensure that it is dry. Her hair is pretty porous, so it wants to hold on to a lot of the water. So really making sure. So everything is 100% dry. Okay, she feels dry, so now I'm gonna show you how amazing it could look if we just stopped at a paddle brush. So your paddle brush blowout should be this smooth, and her bangs should be laying in the correct spot because it's not gonna change once it's dry. So she has volume and she has that nice curtain middle part.